I got intrigued by a mediocre, non-informative headline so much that I went down a rabbit hole. What else is new? Honestly, I've been thinking about Victoria Beckham way too much ever since she died on that PR hill for David after his alleged infidelities, and this is just a culmination of my interest. And maybe you have watched one of them Beckham docu-series on Netflix and are familiar with Victoria's journey to Paris, which culminates in Paris Fashion Week in September 2002, which feels like that's almost 4 years ago, because it is. That docuseries touches on a variety of struggles that the Beckhams had to endure, or journeys they went on, most of them financial. And as a disclaimer, I consider them both extremely talented, and I absolutely think people in the media business treated women like absolute pieces of shit. Many still do, social media included. I do take issue with the whole, we just work really, really hard for it. You probably did, but let's drop the working class act, shall we? I've got my things written down over here so that I don't miss anything, so you can absolutely put me on a podcast mode. There won't be images, whatever, and all the links will be in the description box if you want to go read more about it, or, use Google at your own convenience. The UK follows a tax year from 1st April to last of March, and UK businesses usually follow the same period for their fiscal years. Then they have to file their tax returns within 9 months, and taxes are due the day after at the latest. So I'm currently working off filed paperwork closing of the financial year 2024, and that year suggests that it was the company's 12th consecutive year in the red. Although sales for Victoria Beckham Holdings, which is the umbrella brand for her fashion and skincare brands, were shown to have been rising, the latest accounts also revealed losses. Again. 12 years of losses for Victoria Beckham Holdings. That's a lot. That's a lot of years to maintain faith in yourself, a lot of years to secure loans and other investments. That's a lot, and I mean that. It's also a lot of privilege to be able to do so. So according to the latest filing, sales were up 26% to £112.7 million in 2024. And they were reporting pre-tax losses of £4.5 million for that year, up from £3 million a year earlier. However, bosses hailed strong customer demand and continued brand momentum across both fashion and beauty, saying they had now right-sized the business. Now they've got it right. Now we're onto something. Now we're sucking diesel. In 2025, the holdings sought out another £6.2 million injection into the business to cover the growing losses and to keep the business operational, quoting material uncertainties, which sounds like there is a risk and concern for the company's future. And now in 2026, before the 2025 tax year wrapped up, the company sought out an extension to £4.1 million bank loan, which the accounts say is due for repayment in April 2026. That loan widened after pre-tax losses to £4.8 million from £2.9 in 2023. That extension, if granted, Research Linda writing this didn't know at the time, would probably indicate that the holding is expected to follow the growth, building up on that boom of her cosmetics company and all that good PR for her clothing brand. I personally witnessed a jump of about £150 on a handbag that I wanted to get and didn't, and then whatever. And that was even before the Netflix docuseries release. So yeah, color me annoyed. If you're telling me that the business is growing, I would like to know why we are struggling to catch up, because end of 2022, where the Netflix show wraps up, Victoria's empire is still very much in losses. When the show was edited and released, they decided to introduce the narrative of now we've finally arrived, we being Victoria, that is, and she wants to build up on her success and that this is a pivotal turnaround moment for her. And so this show was released in October 2025 and was produced by Dorothy St. Pictures and Studio 99. What's Studio 99, you say? Glad you asked. It's a production company founded by none other but David Beckham. Rumors have it that Beckham's docuseries, plural, earned them about 20 million rising from original 60 million signing. That's some good PR/marketing work, if you ask me. And that's the thing about Victoria. She's very good about being her own publicist. Now, the silly article that led me to this rabbit hole was about Ralph Toledano, who's dubbed by the Telegraph as a French fashion tycoon, exiting Victoria's brand. Of course, together with the losses filed in the brand's paperwork, this might seem grim. Is it though? Probably is, but let's talk about it anyway. Either he's actually telling the truth and wants to retire, or he's seen the growth, but it doesn't make enough of it to turn truly profitable, and he's just done with it after all these years. He was part of New Investment Partners, which acquired 30% stake in Victoria Beckham in 2018, and he was appointed a chairman. Now retiring, he told WWD that the results are good, the roadmap is clear, and there's great leadership. He mentioned it was taking up too much of his time. I guess if you spend 8 years of trying to drag a brand out of losses and maybe operational mismanagement, and it seems to be going way too slow, was there a bit of lost hope? Regarding the loan extension, auditors at BDO, which is like a big services accounting company, similarly to Ernst & Young or KPMG, they raised concerns over the looming repayment in the latest accounts, as they warned that the company was reliant on the extension of a bank loan, which has not been finalized at the time. BDO also said the company's borrowings might cast significant doubt on the group and company's ability to continue as a going concern. But bosses said that they were confident that a loan extension would be struck before the deadline. And the people are buying and the company is right-sized now. I know. If the extension weren't granted, Victoria Beckham Holdings claimed that further funding would be provided if needed. Which is insane. The Beckhams have been keeping it running through their own money, but also investors' funds. It is not just your money you're burning through. You have a fiduciary responsibility towards your shareholders. As I mentioned, in 2025, there was another push of £6.2 million from the Beckhams, the shareholders, and also Neo Investment Partners. This was in addition to 6.9 received a year earlier. And now in 2026, we're seeking said loan extension because, as we learned with the latest accounts for Victoria Beckham Holdings, they revealed 4.5 million of pre-tax losses for 2024 compared to that 3 million a year earlier. That is not growth. 12th consecutive year in the red, meaning it has now racked up more than 68 million in losses over the past 10 years. The company isn't making enough money to break even, not to mention profit. Am I crazy? That I think that pumping money into a business just to keep it alive for more than 10 years isn't a good business model? What about the Netflix payout? Could we not have used a little bit of that money to pay off that bank loan rather than accruing more interest? I mean, just a thought. But hey, throw more money at it in real life. I mean, must be nice. What else is out there? Now, option A, which I think the Beckhams are either hoping for or confident in, you never know, profit. Which would mean that either they are already turning profit for 2025 and they know it, or they're expecting to break even and go into profit in 2026 based on the growth. Wild guess, considering the state of the world, but hey. They'd still need to sell a lot more to make up for those 14 years. 11 years, if we say the first 3 years, every business loses money. Remember, 68 million of collective funds. Now, option B.
I declare bankruptcy!
It's either administration or liquidation, which we don't wish on anyone, but I do love knowing what I'm walking into. Let's talk administration first. In the UK, that is when a company is placed under a control of an external administrator who is in charge of the rescue party, or eventually sells off its assets to pay creditors. We had something like that with Naomi's scandal. If the administrator is successful, the company could continue operating. I mean, stranger things have happened. Otherwise, the administrator can restructure the company and or sell it. Often in this order, reorganization makes the company a bit more financially viable, and then we can sell it as a whole or for parts and pay off as much as we can. In terms of liquidation, It has a similar goal, of course, to settle debts without the effort to save the company, though. Entering liquidation means all of the company's assets, real estate, stock, intellectual property, are sold off to pay creditors. Everything, chair and coffee maker included. The company isn't a business anymore, it's closed down, employees lose their jobs, shareholders will most likely lose all their investments, and creditors might not get all owed money back. Most likely. Converting the company's assets into cash means we can distribute that cash to the creditors, which happens in a specific order. The paying order to pay off these creditors was outlined by the Insolvency Act from 1986. First come secured creditors with a fixed charge, usually banks and lenders with a title over assets, the type of an assets that's foundational to the business, which you wouldn't normally liquidate during the business life. But now, since the business is no longer existing, we're fine liquidating that. So in liquidation, the liquidator or the charge holder can absolutely sell it off. Then come administrator or liquidator fees, which is a licensed position, and it is in the administrator or liquidator's interest to really maximize the payouts. Otherwise, fraudulent or wrongful trading accusations might arise. The former being a criminal act, the latter a civil one. Next all come preferential creditors, employees entitled to wages and holiday pay, and thank fucking God for that. Secondary preferential creditor, which is a kind of new thing in the Insolvency Act since 2000. It moved HMRC, which is the UK's taxman, up the ladder to retrieve some of the taxes, not all of the taxes owed. That would be value-added tax, pay income tax, employee national insurance contribution, and some other. Then come secured creditors with a floating charge, which is a slightly more complicated part, but nothing a good Excel spreadsheet wouldn't fix. Floating charge assets could be raw materials, work in progress, stock, fixtures and fittings, anything that is not subject to a fixed charge. There's a prescribed part formula coming in place, basically meaning that even though secured creditors come first, they don't get paid 100% of money owed, and part of the retrieved cash gets moved to cover unsecured creditors' debts. Which come next? That is just to pay off the rest of the debt towards HMRC. Now you get why I just talked about creative accounting. The taxman always comes for you. And finally, shareholders. And by the time the garage sale makes it to shareholders, the paybacks is something like penny a pound, if any. Which is not great. So, in my opinion, Victoria Beckham Holdings did not make a profit in 2025. I'd be truly happy to see otherwise. The brand seems to be still pulling with significant losses despite the growing sales. However, businesses continue to rely on the Beckham's personal financial support. Their shareholders loaning them money, bank loans, loans from investors, all that just to stay afloat. And now the luxury market is pretty bleak and beige at best. As I said, I didn't know whether the news of the French dude was a precursor to closing down the business, so I wanted to check and figured maybe I can share all this with the good people of my little fashion corner. Annoy them to no end. Truly wish everyone success in their business endeavors. It just seems a bit peculiar to be able to dedicate this amount of time and money, your own and someone else's, just to prove everyone wrong. I mean, I can definitely empathize with trying to prove everyone wrong and trying to make it happen against all odds. But at what cost? You lot putting up with me until the very end is greatly appreciated. Hope you had fun? I'll see you in the next one. Bye!